beautiful people. It's so lovely to be able to sit down and share some time, have a conversation. It has been a little while since we've sat down together. It's so lovely once again to have your company. Some lovely, wonderful stories to share. As always, it is an honour to be able to do so. So I think the last time we sat down together would have been around late April, just before my birthday. Around my birthday I had this deep feeling, this calling to go out and spend that time on my dad's beautiful woodland, and there was this deep sense of the importance of doing that around my birthday. I think I shared with you before, but a really wonderful friend of mine, kind of says that, that man has this new year on the 1st of January. It is man-made. That's the man-made calendar. But nature's new year is around in bulk. And my birthday is within April, and I was really feeling that this year that there was this real sense of renewal, this real sense of it was a beginning of a whole new cycle of time. There was this sense of birthing, and you could really feel it within the land. You could really feel it within nature, but I also really could feel it within myself. Beautiful sound. And I've just watched a robin just move across our kitchen garden. I've just kind of watered the garden, and I just put some birdseed down around the maywheel, and I've just kind of sat down in a little bit of the wild garden to have a conversation with you guys, and the robin has appeared. Beautiful, wonderful. So it had this real deep sense of this feeling of renewal. It was a real feeling that there was this birthing taking place. There was this beginning happening, and I moved into the woodland, and I felt as if I went into that woodland as one person, and I come out of the woodland as another. And I think that if we can just lean into the fabric of what is happening around us, and that isn't always easy. We the collective, as human beings, we tend to live a really, really, really busy life. And as another good friend of mine says, that quite often, human beings are moving through time rather than moving in time. And I think that it takes work, it takes awareness, it takes presence, it takes cultivation. It's a bit like the kitchen garden. It doesn't just happen. You kind of work it, you cultivate it, or importantly you work with it. And I think that that's something that we have forgotten, is that we just kind of move through all of this as a reaction. We are reactive to life around us, rather than being kind of maybe responsive, or working with or leaning into. And I think that one of the things that I really took this last month, and that's the other thing I want to say, is we're always growing. We're always stirring, we're always remembering, we're always learning. But as Spirit often says, are we learning or are we remembering? They often say that we're in a cycle of return and we're in a time of remembrance rather than learning. And I think that as we move through a journey of shredding and dissolving and shedding the layers, we reveal more of our deeper self, we reveal more of our true nature, we reveal more of what is there. And at that level, we start to unlock, we start to remember rather than learn. But yet, of course, we're always learning and we're always teachable. And that's kind of, for me, you know, I at the beginning of a new cycle in time, and I'm really now convinced. Here's the robin right by my feet. Hello, hello, very close. I tried to turn the camera, but I think in doing so I would frighten. It's a different one to what I normally see, actually. I can tell the difference because of the breast colour. It was a little bit lighter. Another robin around. That we, you know, yeah, that distracted by the robin, is that we move into, you know, I really do feel that, yes, that's it, I really do feel that we, you know, have this nature new year, and it does, it kind of, you know, it stirs up within us as well. And, you know, having a birthday in amongst those gateways, in amongst those doorways, I think it was an amplification of that feeling. I think, you know, when I look back, that feeling's always been there, but it was untangible, whereas it's become very, very tangible. And we've got to ask ourselves, why have we got a calendar that is out of sync with the natural rhythms of time? Why would you do such a thing? Why would you create something that would be out of step with nature, out of step with our natural rhythms? Why would you create such a thing? I think that's a really, 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 really important question, and it's one that needs to be kind of really explored, because there's something very important around that, something very important about that. You know, why would you create a calendar that is out of step with the natural order of things, or the natural rhythm? So I could feel this deep feeling, this kind of emerging, and that's the thing. I think as we shed the layers, as we kind of, those layers fall away and they dissolve, you know, what reveals itself is this shining bright being. You know, we're all these shining bright beings, and you know, we just kind of got to come back home. And that's the thing, is, you know, I had a few experiences within the woodland. One I really, really want to share with you, and then I'm going to share with you, you know, something that come around this full moon that we're just moving through right now. Is I had this experience. So, you know, when we talk about kind of, you know, just dissolving into the fabric of everything that's around us, and that's what, you know, it activates spirit. You know, my work as a medium is, you know, way beyond, you know, just this sense of connection to the other world. It's connection to all worlds. And I had this experience where I was, you know, sitting there by the fire, and I just put the gypsy kettle on the fire, and I looked out across the track, and I noticed that around about 1.5 miles away, there was this flight of birds that left the trees, and they kind of left the trees and they kind of flew in every direction. And I remember looking at it thinking, what is that? Why is that happening? I thought, actually, someone's just entered the woodland. And I thought to myself, okay, so they're about 1.5 miles away. That's around about 15 to 20 minutes walk. The kettle's going to take about 20 minutes to boil. I'll put another cup out, because I felt it was another person, just one person. But you know, I kind of in a way asked, you know, so okay, so someone's walked into the woodland, who is it? Felt it was one person. Thought 20 minutes, kettle will boil, I'll put another cup. So I put another cup, another spoon, another tea bag. And 20 minutes later, turned the corner, and they said to me, they said, oh, you're making tea, how did you know I was coming? And I looked at them and laughed, and I said, because the woodland told me. And that's that whole thing of moving in time rather than through time. So these are lovely little experiences. And I had another experience where I'd done the ceremony to say thank you to the woodland as I moved into that space on the first evening, and I tipped a bloat, which is an offering of mead or handcrafted wine, which is then an offering of self, because it's something that you have made that you're giving back to the land. And then I kind of welcomed the spirit of the woodland and said thank you, and kind of journeyed to meet that, and tipped the bloat bowl and asked for the woodland permission to be there, and kind of asked for it to reveal itself. And then that evening a fox appeared, and it literally encircled my camp 3 times, which I thought was interesting, and then it kind of sat across the fire, and at first it was like, oh my gosh, what is this, and kind of this reaction of something moving through the woodland, and it was kind of moving through with purpose, and it was this sense of shooing it away, and that's what humans do. They call something in and they shoo it away, so I remember laying there that night in my hammock thinking, my gosh, that was the spirit of the woodland showing itself. It's the fox. These things are magical. So very short video, or shortish, and those of you that are listening to this via the podcast, I'm sitting under this incredible beautiful oak tree on the edge of the hedge, and it is just a really, really beautiful day. And as you probably hear in the background, we've got the bird song, we've got all this life. Now, we've just moved through the full moon, and last night I gathered with a handful of really, really dear friends, small handful of dear friends, and we took a bit of a journey, and we done an offering and a bloat, and we sat around the wood stove, and it was really, really, really special. It was lovely. And I had this feeling over this last week of one of my guides, one of my ancestors appeared, and when she first appeared, it was within a dream. I was dreaming that I was walking along this trackway, and I don't know how I knew, but I had this feeling that I was in Ireland. It was just this knowing, and I was moving along this trackway, and I had all these people walking towards me. Some would acknowledge me, some would smile, some would say hello, some would just pass me by. But I had this deep sense of moving back through time. So I was moving through time, I was moving back through time. And the reason I kind of really knew that was because the further I went back, people's costumes, their clothing changed. They were moving towards me and I was moving the opposite way, and I was going back through time. Their costumes changing, their clothing changed. I went way back, and suddenly I stepped off this trackway and I walked through this hedge. So much clues. Walked through this hedge. It's all information. All information's information. Walked through the hedge, and now I was in a copse of trees, and there was this lady standing there with this long red hair and this green cloak, and she was gazing up at the sky. And I remember kind of within the dream thinking, what is she looking at? So I gazed up, and she was facing the moon. She was facing this full moon, and she was whispering these words, and I didn't understand them. It was a language I never understood, but I felt. And I felt it to be a prayer. And then she kind of turned and looked at me, and it was like this sense of looking into me. And I kind of woke up as if I was thrown out of my dream, and I just burst into tears, because it was a sense of me meeting one of my ancestors. It was such a deep, overwhelming, in a beautiful way, overwhelming feeling. Now, she appears to me quite often when I'm out foraging, or I'm looking for wild food, or I'm beginning to create a space within the woodland, within nature, when I start to make a fire, she appears to me, her and an old woodsman. And I think with her there's a real feeling that there is this crossover between her and my spirit guide portrait, and I kind of feel almost Bridget coming through her as well. You know, there's this deep sense of kind of, it merges, you know, it becomes this crossover feeling. And she appears to me now, she appeared to me within this last week, and there was this deep feeling of her with a mortar and pestle, and I saw her put these rose petals in there, and she kind of looks to me, turns to me, and whispers to me moon tea, just very gently moon tea. And then I could feel her put a drop of mugwort in. It was definite sense of rose petals, and she grinds it and just whispers to me moon tea. Now, yesterday being full moon, I didn't realise, I had no understanding of this, but this is how these validations work. Is I got an email from a teacher of mine by the name of Bridget, wonderful teacher, amazing teacher, who was saying to me within the email, you know, hi everyone, you know, it was a general news letter. Hi everyone, hope you're ready for the full moon, super moon, eclipse, rose moon. And I thought to myself, my word, how incredible. You know, these beautiful validations, you know, these beautiful experiences that when we kind of listen and we kind of, you know, lean into, and then we kind of move into, you know, so much can kind of unlock, so much can kind of move, so much can happen. And so I crafted this blend of tea for the full moon. And we journeyed within ceremony, and we kind of brewed this tea, and we charged it. So we kind of all sat in a circle and charged the pot full of these herbs and flowers, and we allowed it to steep, and we wove prayers and intentions into it, and then we drank it. It was a beautiful, simple but very powerful ritual. And I got the sense of, you know, the spirit of Rose, you know, she's a grandmother, you know, she's a grandmother, but she's also a midwife. You know, she has this nurturing, nourishing kindness to her, but at the same time she has this deep resilience. You know, she'll listen to your cares and your concerns, but she won't allow you to wallow in them, you know, which is the thorns. You know, it's almost like I saw her sitting in a rocking chair by a hearth side. You know, she'll bring you back home, she'll bring you back to your heart, but at the same time, you know, there is this resilience. You know, her face was weathered, but it was soft. Her hands were weathered, but they were soft. They're hands that have worked. You know, there's this heart in there that is of deep goodness, of deep love, of deep care, deep nurture, but at the same time she doesn't suffer fools. You know, beautiful experiences. So, you know, short video, shorter podcast, but just to weave everything back as we begin to pick up the cycle of continued conversations as we go forwards. And there is going to be a second part of this that I'm going to share the week following. But in the meantime, I hope as we move now into, you know, May Day has come and gently moving behind us, as we move into summer, I hope you're having an incredible journey. And you know, one thing that I would want to leave you all with is that, you know, the medicine of the rose, you know, is that, you know, to come back to self, we come back to the land, and we also come back to each other. Until next time, keep shining.